The wild tiger is an apex predator, heavily adapted for its specific natural environment. Globally, the wild population currently stands at fewer than 4,000 individuals. Yet, looking away from these native ranges toward North America and China reveals a sharp numerical inversion. This split-screen visualization captures the paradox. As wild counts drop below 4,000 in Asia, captive tigers surge past 20,000 globally. These animals exist in two unnatural environments: private U.S. backyard enclosures and high-density Asian commercial breeding farms. This massive captive population is frequently cited as a biological reservoir, a form of extinction insurance for the species. To see why these 20,000 animals offer zero conservation value, we must redefine what a tiger is, beginning with its earliest evolutionary timeline. We must rewind 2 million years to reach the species' evolutionary baseline. The geography of this origin is found in the gelation deposits of Gansu Province, China. In this region, paleontologists unearthed the oldest complete pantherine skull hitherto discovered. Accurate dating of the specimen confirms it is between 2.16 and 2.55 million years old. This holotype specimen is Panthera zdanskyi, known informally as the Longdan tiger. The architecture of this 2.5 million-year-old skull provides the strict morphological baseline for the entire lineage. It is the metrically used to prove how 1 century of unregulated captivity is destroying the animal. We begin our detailed morphological breakdown with the Panthera zdanskyi holotype. Measuring the condylobasal length, the axis from the front of the jaw to the base of the skull, demonstrates the massive scale and robust build established at the root of the lineage. The specimen features massive upper canines and elongated nasal bones that project far backward, creating the distinctive cranial profile shared by all tigers. For decades, the geographical and chronological origin of the tiger was a subject of intense debate. Panthera paleosinensis was traditionally assumed to be the primitive tiger ancestor. This strict consensus cladogram, derived from modern cladistic analysis, dismantles that assumption. The data realigns Panthera paleosinensis, proving it is morphologically much closer to the lineage leading to leopards. Instead, the chart identifies Panthera zdanskyi as the definitive sister taxon to the modern tiger. This reclassification confirms the tiger is the outcome of a highly specific, unbroken evolutionary pathway originating in north-central China. This lineage was forged by a biological process called mosaic evolution. Panthera zdanskyi proves the tiger did not evolve its specialized traits all at once. Different physical structures adapted at different speeds. We can plot these physical shapes on a geometric coordinate grid to see this staggered timeline. The cranial and upper dentition data show that these parts of the tiger's anatomy reached modern parameters extremely early in the Pleistocene. The 2.5 million-year-old Longdan tiger cranium maps directly adjacent to the morphospace of modern tigers. The comparative data for the lower jaw reveals a much slower evolutionary speed. This mandible data shows that the lower jaw of Panthera zdanskyi plotted much further away from the modern tiger cluster. Because the mandible retained primitive characteristics, it had to evolve at a much faster rate during the later stages of the Pleistocene. The tiger's deep-time evolutionary trajectory was driven by a constant, brutal requirement to optimize bite force against its primary prey. Its physical form was forged strictly by the gauntlet of natural selection. Modern captive management replaces those deep-time pressures with entirely artificial environments. We can map the impact on a single wild-type genome across 3 distinct tiers of captivity: the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good includes accredited zoo breeding programs. These facilities focus strictly on maintaining genetic diversity and functional species insurance. The bad refers to the unregulated exotic pet trade, where the biological line begins to distort. Backyard breeders subvert natural optimization by deliberately selecting for novelty and visual mutants rather than survival fitness. This is most evident in the high demand for white tigers, which are bred for entertainment. Every captive white tiger in the United States descends from a single wild Bengal caught in the 1960s. This creates a severe genetic bottleneck that guarantees compounding inbreeding. Breeders further degrade the lineage through hybridization, crossing tigers with lions or mixing distinct subspecies to create novel pets for the market. Finally, the ugly encompasses commercial tiger farming operations across China and Southeast Asia. These farms force an unnaturally high reproductive output, breeding females at just 3 years old, with short 100-day gestations. These facilities exist purely to mass-produce biological material for traditional medicine and the ornamental trade. These bad and ugly operations act as active degradation engines. In under a century, they have replaced 2.5 million years of predatory optimization with thousands of profit-driven genetic mutts. We can now evaluate the modern captive population against our 2.5 million year evolutionary baseline. This functional cluster represents the species' physical architecture, a machine shaped by millions of years of predatory pressure. But data for modern captive tigerns shows them scattering wildly from the functional center. These captive specimens fall completely outside biological parameters. They are functionally non-viable. A tiger's biological identity is defined by this highly specific morphological architecture, forged entirely by predatory pressure. This returns us to the 20,000 captive tigers currently outnumbering those in the wild. The animals existing in these backyard cages and commercial farms have been irreversibly severed from their ancient evolutionary lineage. Because they no longer run the gauntlet of natural selection, they are genetically useless for accredited species survival plans. Breeding more of these biological mutts in captivity does absolutely nothing to save the species from extinction. True tiger conservation relies on protecting the wild habitats that sustain the species' true evolutionary trajectory, rather than hoarding degraded biological material in cages.